BookTube. Today is Friday and I am starting a reading retreat weekend, and I thought I would come on and vlog a little bit of my reading weekend. It's Friday, as I mentioned, and I'm starting out my weekend with my new, let me get it in here, my new coffee cup from my daughter. And this is from Cape May, New Jersey. It's a nice pottery mug. And I'm drinking my coffee and I'm listening to What Should I Read Next podcast. So that's how I'm starting off my bookish reading retreat weekend. I'll be in touch to let you know what else I'm up to. As many of you know, I use audiobooks for reading young adult, and middle grade novels. So this is my library app that I use. It is for the blind and visually impaired, and it is through Talking Books. And this particular book that I'm reading or listening to is, as you can see, The Book Woman from Troublesome Creek, and I am enjoying it so far. I'm only about an hour or so into it, but I am loving it. Hello everyone. So last night I finished The Book Woman of Troublesome Creek and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. And today I am going to the library with my daughter, and we'll be checking out lots of books, I'm sure. So I'll make sure that I put a little clip in here from our trip to the library, as well as a picture of my book stack. And I may add that in at the end and go through what my picture book TBR is from library books. And I got a couple of chapter books too. Happy Sunday. Today is the 3rd day of the reading retreat that I have been participating in, and I haven't done too much as far as reading today. A little bit of adding some things to Goodreads that I read last night, because last night I read a huge pile of picture books. They're the books that I got at the library, plus a stack of books I had waiting for me to read already at home. So I will go through those books and tell you a little bit about them in just a minute. And I have a couple that I won't talk too much about because I'll do a separate video for those. They're ones that I had done some TBRs for. So I'll talk about those separately, but I will mention the ones that I did read last night and this morning. Okay, I'll switch the camera around and then I will show you what I've been reading. Okay, here's my large stack of books. I did show you those. Those were mostly library books, but I did add some others that I had in already at home to read. So the first 3 books kind of have a theme. I didn't plan on that happening, but it kind of worked out that way. The first one is called A Book for Escargot, and this book is super cute. Here is the author and the illustrator. This book was really cute, and it's about Escargot. Escargot is that really cute little snail right there, and he is in the library, and he is looking to borrow a book that will help him learn about French cooking. He's looking to get a book, but it turns out that he was going to be part of a recipe that he of course did not want to happen. So he was working on creating his own book. So it's very cute and I recommend this. A Book for Escargot. The next book I have is this one right here. Bernard Writes a Book, and this is written by Deborah Underwood, and this is the illustrator. This is another one that happens to be about writing a book in writing a story. And this is all about Bernard, and apparently there are other Bernard books that I saw on Goodreads, which I have not read. But in this one, he writes a book. He's wanting to write a book for his friend, the goose, and he does so as he goes through. It's all about writing and the different steps that you need to take when writing a story. Characters, your setting, your problem, your solution, and it's really done in a really cute way. And I would highly recommend this to read aloud when your students are writing stories. And it's cute and funny, and the first time he writes a story, it's not so interesting, so he ends up adding more interesting details as the story progresses about Bernard writing his book. So that is another one about writing. And the third one that happened to be about writing a story is called Abdul's Story. And here's the author and the illustrator. In Abdul's story, Abdul is a little boy who doesn't feel very confident in his ability to write. He spends a lot of time erasing and making mistakes until one day when an author comes into the classroom and talks about his writing and shares his writer's notebook with Abdul and shows him that he also makes mistakes. So Abdul then feels more confident to write his own story, and you'll have to read to find out more about what happens as Abdul builds his confidence up to be a writer and consider himself a writer. Very cute. Oh, next we have the classic, Arnold Lobel's Frog and Toad Together. I just love the illustrations of Arnold Lobel. And this is a Caldecott Honor winning book. So as some of you may know who've watched some of my previous videos, I am collecting all of the Caldecott Medal winning books and the Caldecott Honor winning books. And as I go through and obtain the books, I am reading them for sometimes the first time and sometimes rereading them as I've acquired my own copy. So I was excited to find my own copy of Frog and Toad, Frog and Toad Together at the Cherry Valley bookstore when I visited a few weeks back. And that is a used bookstore. I'll insert a picture of the bookstore at the end here so you can see me at the Cherry Valley bookstore. And of course, if you don't know the story of Frog and Toad, this is an early reader beginning chapter book, and there's just different adventures that Frog and Toad have. And as you can see, if I can open this book, which doesn't really want to open too well, the spine isn't really worn in too well, which is good. There are small little stories within the book itself, and you get to hear and read about different adventures that Frog and Toad have together as friends. The next book I came across at an estate sale is In the Forest, and this is the pictures and the artwork are by Maria Hall Etz, and I had never read this one before. This is a Caldecott Honor winning book, and it's really a good book. I enjoyed this. A lot of repetition, and there is a boy who's in the forest, and he comes across different animals in the forest, and each animal or group of animals joins his parade as he goes through and meets new friends in the forest. Another great one, and I enjoyed the artwork and the art style in this book. Black and white illustrations. Can't remember the year of this one. It might be in the 70s, if I remember right. Could be, maybe it's even older than that. I can't remember the year. And I'm not going to be able to see the copyright date, I'm sure. So anyways, In the Forest. Another one to add to my collection, or excuse me, The Forest, not In the Forest. Another one to add to my Caldecott collection. A Don Freeman book, Norman the Doorman. I am not familiar with this book, or I wasn't familiar with Norman the Doorman until I read it last night. But of course, Don Freeman wrote and illustrated Corduroy, one of my favorite all-time picture books. And I had heard of Norman the Doorman, and I decided to pick this up at, I think it was an estate sale where I found this one too. And this is about Norman. He's a little mouse, and he's the doorman to his little mouse hole in the basement of a museum. And Norman decides that he wants to be able to visit the main part of the museum. He is an artist himself, so he decides to take some of the wires from the mouse traps that he disassembles. He's able to steal the cheese and get the mouse trap to go off without hurting any mice in the process. And he uses the wire to create a sculpture, and he enters it into an art contest. And everybody wants to know who made the sculpture. And one of the security guards realizes that, oh, I know where my mouse traps have been going. And he ends up finding Norman, and Norman is afraid that he's going to be in trouble. But he may or may not be. You'll have to read to find out what happens to Norman the Doorman and his art sculpture that he entered into the art contest. This is a Peter Reynolds, a newer Peter Reynolds, Our Table. I won't talk too much about this one today. I will do a separate review for this because I was sent this book by Scholastic. Oh, this is a sweet one. This has been out for a couple of years, and I had not read it before because I had a teacher. And this is written by the author who has written the What to Do with a Problem, What to Do with an Idea, and maybe What to Do with a Chance, or When You Get a Chance. Something about chance, I believe. Anyways, this is a nice little inspirational book that would be a great teacher gift, as well as to give to a first-year teacher or a new teacher. This next book is about Juneteenth, and interestingly enough, today that I'm filming this video is Juneteenth, June 19th, and this is called Juneteenth for Mitzi, and this one is written and illustrated by Floyd Cooper. And if you're familiar with Cooper's work, you will appreciate his artwork in the books. And this is about a Juneteenth celebration, and the girl in the story, Mitzi, her father explains to her a little bit about what Juneteenth is, and that she can celebrate and have things her way on that day. And he discusses the reason for Juneteenth and what it means to them. Oh, the next one is by the Fan Brothers. This is by the Fan Brothers. And this book is called Lizzie and the Cloud. And if you're familiar with the Fan Brothers artwork, you will enjoy this one a great deal. This is beautiful illustrations. A lot is told through the illustrations. Of course, there is a story. It is not a wordless picture book, but the pictures are very exquisite in my opinion. And if you take a look at this one on the cover, you can see the colors are very muted, and then with the pop of yellow. And you'll find that throughout the book, very similar types of colors in the story. And this is all about a little girl, Lizzie, who gets a cloud as a pet. That's what she wants. And she basically takes care of the cloud and learns about the proper care and feeding of a cloud, and what happens, or what can happen when you have a cloud as a pet. So I highly recommend this one. And of course, as you know, a lot of the books that I read are backlist books, not brand new books, but this one I had never read. I have wanted to read it for quite a while. I Am Every Good Thing. This was a fantastic book. I really enjoyed this one, and I highly recommend it. I think it should be on everyone's reading lists and part of your classroom library, as well as, of course, your library, maybe even your personal library. But this is all about an ode to celebrating oneself, especially a person of color, especially celebrating African Americans. And this boy in the story talks about how he is every good thing. And it's just beautiful, and celebrating himself and all that he is. I highly recommend this one. The next book I have is another Peter Reynolds book. I have read this before, and for some reason I didn't remember reading it. And I picked it up at the library yesterday, Happy Dreamer. This is a great one to celebrate individuality and creativity and being able to be proud of oneself and how you are able to basically be a happy dreamer. This next book is called Joy, and it's written by Yasmin Ismail. And this is basically a book that I picked up purely on the cover. I didn't really know anything about it. And I picked it up because this month, June of 2022, is the word of the month is joy in Stephanie Affinito's Get Literate community, which I'm a part of. It's a wonderful community. I think I've mentioned it at the beginning of this video, where I talk about how she is having us, we're participating in this reading weekend or reading retreat. So that's why I'm actually doing this vlog, is to share with you my reading retreat. And this month is joy. Each month she picks a new theme, and we read and write around the word of the month. And she has recommended some books that she feels are wonderful and bring out the word and embody the word of joy. So that's why I picked this one up, and it was cute. I did give this one 3 stars. It was a cute story about this kitten, and a lot of sound words and fun wordplay about this kitten as he plays with his ball of yarn. And in a very, very simple story, but very cute. I would recommend it. It would be a fun read aloud for a preschool or toddler age group. The next few books are ones that are new to me that I had actually purchased, but that embody the theme word of joy. And I definitely agree with the selections, and I agree that they do bring about joy when you are reading them. This book is Antoinette Portis, and I love her book called Wait. And I think that one is a great book that would celebrate the word joy. And this one is called Now. And in this story, a little girl basically is talking about different things that basically bring her joy. And let's see, I'm going to open up to a different one of the illustrations. Basically, the little girl in the story is celebrating joy by sharing things that are her favorite things. Again, that was Now by Antoinette Portis. The next one that was recommended on a reading list is called Thank You, Amu. And this will actually work well for my Caldecott collection. This was a Caldecott Honor book from a couple years ago. Thank You, Amu. And the author is, I'm not sure how to say that name, Ogi Mora. And in Thank You, Amu, there is Amu, and she is making a big pot of some sort of red stew, and she ends up sharing it with many people that end up coming to her door because they can smell the delicious smell of the stew. And there's a neat twist at the end, which I won't give away if you haven't read it, but I highly recommend this book, Thank You, Amu, and where everyone is very thankful in sharing, thankful that Amu has shared with them, and it has brought everyone some joy. Lastly, another book that was new to me that was recommended on Stephanie Affinito's Get Literate Community book list in the month of June for the word joy is the book called Joy. And I enjoyed this book. This was very sweet, about a little girl, and you can see her here on the cover. And she is trying to help find joy for her grandmother again. She feels, because her mother mentioned something about her grandmother losing joy and not feeling joyful. So this little girl goes on a little quest to try to capture joy and share it with her grandmother. Very sweet story. That is the end of my pile of books that I have read last night. I will be reading next to celebrate day 3. Here's my pug, Mr. Wrinkles. Some of you have seen him before in videos. He's taking a nap here next to me and next to the books. I will be reading another pile of picture books, which I can share with you, starting with Pizza down there on the floor. So I'll be reading those. And then my plan is to start The Last Map Maker, which I mentioned yesterday that I was going to be reading. So I will be starting that one. And this is, of course, a middle grade novel that I have heard good things about, and I'm looking forward to starting and reading this weekend. Okay, I hope you have a great Sunday afternoon, and I will probably check back in to wrap things up for this weekend reading retreat. I hope you have a great Sunday and happy reading. Hello again. I am back one more time here on Sunday afternoon, just to let you know that while I was out celebrating Father's Day, I received a package in the mail, and I received 2 items. The first one is these scratch and sniff stickers that are s'mores, and I do a lot of notebook writing and journaling and scrapbooking, so I will be using those scratch and sniff stickers. And I also received a book called Dear Librarian. I've heard about this book, but I haven't read it yet, and I have ordered it because I would like to add it to my collection of books about books, libraries, reading. I have quite a collection that I add to because these are one of my favorite types of books in picture books, is books that are basically an ode to reading, libraries, librarians, bookstores. At some point I will share some of those with you here on my channel, but here is the book that I'm adding to my pile of books to read this evening. Hello again. Today is Monday, and I'm just coming on quickly to do a wrap-up of my weekend reading retreat, which was so much fun. And I'll be sure to link Stephanie's Get Literate group down below so that you can join and have a lot of fun like we do with book clubs and writing and reading and everything bookish. So I wanted to share with you, I wrapped up my picture book TBR, plus I added some other TBRs that were previously that I previously had, whether I filmed those or not. I read a ton of picture books between Saturday and Sunday, and I have to say that although I did give a couple of them 5 stars, my favorite 5-star, I have to say, is this book called I Am Every Good Thing by Derek Barnes. And I have to say this was my favorite because it's an ode to yourself, a celebration of all that you can be and everything that you can aspire to be. So I highly recommend it, and I think that you should put that on your TBR and maybe even purchase it for your own personal library. But mine was from the library, so I'm not sure if I might be purchasing this one to have on my own shelf. But I wanted to come on and wrap this up and to let you know that I appreciate you coming along for my reading retreat weekend, and I hope that you would like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will be seeing you soon in the next video. Take care and happy reading.